Hello, all humans and all non-humans, and welcome back to another episode of Judgemental Readings. I am totally not feeling another episode right after finishing one, because I want to know what's happening. But yes, I do want to know what's happening. So, not much of an update this time. It's okay. The world is still on fire. The United States is still on fire. We're all still freaking out. I haven't dyed my hair yet, so maybe the week after this. Maybe we'll see, depending on how this chapter ends. Maybe we'll get 2 chapters in. Hopefully there won't be as much bullshittery to piss me off, and we can get through this chapter a little faster. Yes. I'm not going to finish this book until like 2027, by the way that things are going. Anyways, back for another chapter of Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Traveler. All right, moving on. I think in the last chapter, I've decided that this would have been a lot better if it had been a horror book without any sex. Here we go. Chapter 10. Hui. Tem froze. Caspin's voice was inside her head, as it always was, deep and luxurious and knowing. It shocked her so much that she sat back down on the bench, her mouth hanging open. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Speak to me using your mind, Tem." "Oh," she said out loud, then clapped her mouth shut and thought it instead. "Oh." Never mind, there's going to be a lot of bullshittery, isn't it? She could feel his amusement, and with it a weight came off her chest. Finally, the barrier between them was lowered. Finally, they were connected, just as they were always meant to be. Talking to Caspin was like sending her thoughts down a long, dark corridor and through an open door, one that, until now, had been locked tightly. It felt natural to be joined with him like this, and Tem couldn't believe that it had taken so long for him to allow it. "So, Tem, is there something you wish to say to me?" Now that they were having a conversation, Tem found herself suddenly afraid. She wasn't sure what she wanted to say, and she certainly wasn't sure how to say it. But Caspin was there, in her mind, and she didn't want to lose access to him, so she asked, "Did I do something wrong? Earlier, I mean." He was not beside her, but she could hear him sigh. "You did nothing wrong." She felt relief at his words, but wasn't sure if she believed him. "But I did do something, didn't I? Or at least, I caused something." It felt like forever before he spoke again. When he finally did, his voice was but a whisper inside her head. "What happened was not your fault. It was mine." Tem summoned the courage for her next question. "But what exactly happened? I don't understand." For the first time, Tem sensed Caspin's hesitation. He was always so sure of himself. Now his caution scared her. She worried he might not answer, or worse, cut off their connection altogether. Instead, his voice returned, still quiet, still subdued. "I lost control." Tem processed his answer, wishing so much more. She remembered the way he had pulled away from her when she'd pressed herself against him, his roar of agony that had nearly ripped her apart. She needed answers, even if he was unwilling to give them. "Did I hurt you?" Caspin's presence grew in her mind. "It is I who hurt you." She shrugged, and she was sure he could see her. "You healed me." His disapproval was obvious, probing at the back of her neck. It was a curious sensation, and although it wasn't necessarily pleasant, she savored it because it meant that he was still there. Tem needed to keep him with her. She spoke before he could. "Will our lessons continue?" The probing stopped abruptly. "Of course they will continue." An incredible lightness shot through her. "So you're not angry with me?" His mood softened. "I am angry with myself." Tem could feel his sadness, and beneath it, deep regret. She wanted nothing more than to run back to the cave to comfort him. Before she could act on it, Caspin said, "It is not your concern. Like I said, you did nothing wrong." She felt him start to fade and only wished to pull him back. "Please don't go." His presence paused. "I cannot stay, Tem. We should not be talking like this in the first place." "But why?" "Because it will only lead to pain." She shook her head. "You have never caused me pain." The wind caressed her cheek, and she swore he had sent it. "I did tonight." He was fading again, pulling away. She had to keep him. "If this will only lead to pain, then why did you give me a piece of you?" Caspin's presence grew as if his hand were on her shoulders. The claw was still inside her, and she felt it pulse. "I should not have done that either." His words crushed her. Of course he regretted it. Of course she was not worthy of the gesture. She swallowed her shame. "Shall I return it to you?" Caspin flared in her mind. "I did not say I wanted it back, only that I should not have given it to you. Do not assume I regret my actions. I am not someone who makes my decisions lightly." I swear that's the most he's talked this entire time. His words came in an avalanche. So quickly Tem could barely keep up. She blinked, trying to remain calm as she asked, "So you don't regret it?" His answer was quiet. "No." Tem gripped the bench, as if by doing so she could grip him. "Will you think of me?" His reply was barely a whisper, lost in the wind. "Constantly." This ain't no fucking Romeo and Juliet, can we? Oh, God. Caspin relinquished the grip on her mind, and she felt his energy subside. Tem tried to hang on, but she knew this time he wouldn't stay. His presence faded, and she was all alone in the garden, once again staring at the stars. Where a moment ago she had been warm, now she shivered. She tiptoed back through the house, passing her mother's door and hearing her reassuring snores. Tem's room was dark, but warm, and she undressed slowly, pretending that Caspin was watching, the tip of the claw gleaming between her legs, its pearly sheen glowing in the darkness. How far does this thing come out? Like, Jesus, is she walking around looking like she's got a heart on? Like, what the fuck? A miniature heart on? Like, what the hell? The tip of the claw gleamed between her legs, its pearly sheen glowing in the darkness. It was the most beautiful thing in the world to her, certainly the most beautiful thing she had ever owned. Although she wondered if she did truly own it, could one even own a part of someone else? Was any part of Caspin hers to own? No, you shouldn't own somebody else. That's not what love is. Tem wasn't sure. All she knew was that he owned her completely, whether he wanted to or not. Why? You've never bonded with you don't know what this man likes. He doesn't know what you like. You're more than just your sexual actions. You're more than just a sexual being. Yes, you are also a sexual being, but you have wants, desires, dreams, needs. You have a past that we barely know anything about. Like, who are you as a person? You're not just a walking vagina with insecurities, but apparently the book wants you to be a walking vagina with insecurities who feels fulfilled by a sexual encounter. Like, what the fuck, Ray? We're so much more than this. Oh, what a one-dimensional character. What a one-dimensional characters. Tem touched the claw, pushing it deeper into the place Caspin had not yet been, but she dearly wanted him to go. The moment she did so, he returned to her mind. His arousal matched her own. She could feel how much he wanted her, his heat traveling down the shared corridor of their connection. The tapered tip of the claw pressed against her clitoris, and she was imagining it, and when she imagined it was Caspin pressing her instead, she felt weak. Tem climbed into bed, the sheets soft beneath her fingers. His voice came to her as she was pulling the covers over her shoulders. "Leave them." Joy erupted in her chest at his command. She hadn't quite believed him when he said he would think of her. Then again, she never quite did. Yet here he was, mere minutes later, keeping his words. Tem left the covers by her feet, lying back on the pillows and shuddering in anticipation. A single pulse tingled between her legs, traveling up her body and peaking her nipples. The pulse quickened, and with it her heartbeat. She tilted her knees up, brushing her fingers down her stomach, preparing to touch herself. Be still. Tem froze, her hand halfway down her body. Sorry. Watch. Watch? Tem sat up curiously, staring between her legs. At first, nothing happened. She only felt a gentle vibration, which made her ache even more. Then the claw began to move. Jesus Christ, this fucking book is weird. Been sitting in the same position for too long. Tem sat up curiously, staring between her legs. At first, nothing happened. She only felt a gentle vibration, which made her ache even more. Then the claw began to move. It slid in and out of her slowly, moving entirely on its own accord. Tem watched in mesmerized awe, transfixed by its steady momentum. She could not look away. It was a marvel to behold such magic, and more amazing still to feel it. The claw seemed to glow as it penetrated her, never going all the way inside her, always stopping itself with the tapered end, which is acting as a fingertip would, applying pressure against her clitoris with each penetration. Kneel. Tem did so, the curve of her ass resting on her knees, her thighs forming an open angle on the bed. She gripped the blankets tightly, focusing on her breathing as the claw went deeper, prompting her to move her hips in order to rub herself against the mattress. The combination of sensations felt so good, she arched her back as a moan escaped her throat. She was wet now. It was soaking into her sheets, but Tem didn't care. She couldn't stop rubbing herself, and she knew Caspin wouldn't want her to anyway. She slid her hips back and forth, concentrating on the point of the claw, which was hard between her legs. If only Caspin were here. If only she could ride him the way she was riding her sheets. If only he could feel just how much she wanted to give herself to him. Tem needed him to know how turned on she was, how utterly obedient and pliable her body had become. She pictured it with all her strength. Her on top, him underneath, her palms splayed flat on his chest, his hands gripping her ass. She imagined how he would pull her against him with sharp thrusts, again and again, until they finished in unison. As she pictured them together, she felt Caspin's hunger grow. He sent her a vision back, the mirror of her own, but this time from his perspective. He was looking up at her as she rode him, her face flushed with heat, her breasts pushed together. Was that what she looked like to him? Surely he was embellishing the vision. Tem had never seen herself like that. Beautiful, fierce, a sexual being, a woman. It was incredible to see what he saw, to view herself through the lens of his desire. The claw moved in tandem with her, sliding in and out so she could pleasure herself on top of it. Caspin's presence in her mind only grew, and she could feel him there as clearly as she felt herself. Get on all fours. The order was a growl. Get on all fours. Tem obeyed immediately, feeling a rush of cold as the air met her wetness. But it lasted only a moment before the claw burned hotly as she cried out, twisting her fist into the sheets. She tried to remain still as Caspin sent it deeper and deeper inside of her. But it was impossible not to react. The tip remained pressed against her clitoris, and the deeper she sent it, the more the pressure increased. Beautiful. The claw went deeper. Perfect. Even deeper. Angel. Fucking angel. She could barely take another second. Beautiful. Perfect. Tem. Fucking perfection. It went on. Caspin whispered word after sweet word, pushing her closer and closer to orgasm. When she was just moments from finishing, the pleasure suddenly disappeared. Tem gasped in surprise, realizing he was teasing her, bringing her to the edge, and then denying her a climax. Tem wanted to protest, but before she could, he sent the claw in again, his presence so strong she could have sworn he was behind her. For the second time in a row, he brought her to the brink, but wouldn't let her finish. Instead, he said, "Take it out." Tem could barely comply. It went against everything she wanted and needed, but she did so anyway, the smooth hardness slippery in her hands. "Lie on your back." Tem did so. "Place it on your throat." Tem set the curve of the claw so it encircled the front of her neck. It was so heavy. She felt pressure on her airway. Caspin's growl of pleasure deepened. "Now finish." It was the easiest thing in the world to slip her fingers between her legs, rub them against her clitoris, and finish. When she came, she could have sworn the claw tightened around her neck. This is made for Gen Z. I'm so tired of this. And Tem thought she might choke. Before she could panic, the claw loosened and a wave of euphoria swept through her. Tem's jaw was nothing compared to his. She felt Caspin's climax in conjunction with her own. His pleasure rushing in a relentless wave so unfathomably deep that she feared she might slip beneath it and never come again. Never come up again. I might never come again. Tem had no idea this was what it felt like for him when he came. It was so much stronger than anything she had ever known. She couldn't believe he could survive such pleasure. It was impossible to tell where her climax ended and Caspin's began. Perhaps they were one and the same. His pleasure was hers, and vice versa. There was no end to their connection, no limits to what they could achieve together. Woo-hoo. Wait a minute, if she doesn't have the claw inside her, then how is she feeling his orgasm? Isn't the whole thing that the connection is through the claw and it has to be inside? Why am I asking these questions? I know better at this point. I should just... I'm gonna deep throat this mic. I'm so fucking done. Alright. I'm sorry. Tem lay there, naked, the claw still clamped around her neck. The afterglow of their orgasm was so strong, she barely heard Caspin when he asked, "Hey baby, did you like that?" I added the "hey baby," but did you like that? His voice was a purr. "Yes, did you?" When his answer took a moment to come, Tem panicked. When it finally did, he said, "Of course I did." Pride rushed through her. He was pleased. He approved. No. I'm sorry, kids. Pride rushed through her. He was pleased. He approved. "What did you like the most?" He said, "With all the insecurities of the universe." I can't. He didn't say that. Adding that in. I feel like sometimes I need to specify when it's my ad-libbing. Tem generally wanted to know the answer. Oh no, she asked, "What did you like the most?" No, nobody should be asking that. I don't know, or maybe you should. I don't know. Maybe I'm awful about my sexual encounters. Maybe nobody will. Alright. Caspin was so mysterious, it seemed like she was always the vulnerable one. She wanted to know more about him, to learn how to please him, and for him to trust her to do so. Maybe, buddy, what's your favorite color? What do you do when you're not teaching people how to fuck? What were your parents like? How about, let's get to know each just, whoo. I like the way you did what you were told. It was not the answer she wished for. Ten wanted him to like something about her. Something that she specifically had provided. He must have sensed her disappointment, because his presence collided in her mind, settling at the base of her skull. It is not my approval you seek. You must save your heart for the prince. You know this, Tem. Tem did know it, but that didn't make her seek his approval any less. Caspin himself had told her she was not meant to be tamed. Why should she tame her heart? I just want to know what you like about me. She could feel his amusement, and she didn't like it. She hardened her tone, snapping, Are you laughing at me? His amusement only increased. Certainly not. I am merely wondering what made you this way. She frowned. Made me what way? His answer was a single word. Persistent. Tem was surprised. No one had ever called her persistent before. Well, we don't know anything about you, Tem, so... No, this is not us knowing about... Ugh! Alright. Honestly, I'm glad that these videos are not popular, because I can totally hear and see people saying all kinds of shitty commentary about this, and I'm just like, no, this book is awful. Like, ask for better. Have better taste. She supposed it was true. She was not one to give up. Even as a child, she learned that if she wanted something to herself, for herself, it was up to her to achieve it. I was just born like that, I suppose. He laughed, and it sounded like church bells ringing. Then if you must know, that is what I like about you. Tem couldn't help but smile. She lay there for a while longer until she became cold. She sat up slowly, and when Caspin didn't protest, she crawled up to the head of her bed. When Tem went to place the claw in her bedside drawer, she heard, Stop. She paused, her hand out. I may want you again. Anticipation rushed through Tem. Eagerly, she slipped the claw back inside her. It went easily. She was still wet. Then she pulled the blankets up, and despite her excitement, fell straight to sleep. Caspin had her twice more that night. The first time, Tem was awoken by a pulse shooting abruptly through her. It shattered her dreams, immediately setting her skin on fire. Caspin sent pulse after pulse in increasing intensity until she cried out. Her legs crossed together tightly, her fingers pressing the claw even deeper. It was equal parts exhilarating and exhausting, and when it was over, Tem was covered in sweat and gasping for breath. The second time was different. The pulse was soft and tentative, reverberating through her so gently she didn't even feel it at first, but it nudged her awake insistently, and as the wave built, Tem felt as if it were being unraveled from the inside out. As she were being unraveled from the inside out, as if Caspin was unfolding her in a field of sunlight. Her climax was long and lingering, buzzing gently along the edges of her body before fading into nothingness. When it was finally over, she heard his deep voice whispering, Sleep, Tem. Tem slept. She awoke to her mother's insistent knock on the door. Wake up, dear. There is someone here to see you. Tem groaned, rubbing her eyes. There was only one person she wanted to see, and she was quite sure he wasn't in the kitchen. When she stumbled out her bedroom, Gabriel's cheerful grin lit up the room. I had a moment for a second where I was just like, who's Gabriel? Morning, sunshine. Tem glanced at her mother, who was standing pointedly in front of the drying rack. Hey, Tem sat next to him at the table. What are you doing here? Delivering this. He brandished a letter. Tem recognized the royal stationery. Why do you have that? Gabriel shrugged. Peter was going to deliver it. I tagged along. Tem smiled, pressing a kiss against his cheek. I'm glad you did. Are you? We don't know any... This is what chapter are we on? Chapter 11? We haven't seen your best friend for 10 chapters. Like... Everyone watched as she opened the letter. There was just 3 lines of thin black text, which she read out loud. Tempest Virus. I hate her name. I hate her name. The prince requests your presence at the... sorry. I apologize. Gross. Alright. I need my hands again. How am I doing this? Meow. There we go. Meow. Stay. No. Please. Please. Please stay. Oh! I'm so sorry. These have got to be the worst loud noises. Alright. Please stay. Please stay. This is probably why people edit. And I'm over here like, I don't want to put any time and effort. I don't have any editing software. I'm not going to spend money on editing software. I'm just going to look at this and cry and cringe and never upload it. So just, no. Okay. Tempest Virus. The prince requests your presence at the castle this evening for a formal group dinner. Kindly be ready at 8 p.m. What's that? Gabriel pointed at the back of the letter. Tem turned the letter over. There, scrawled in messy red ink, were 2 additional words. Torture me. Ooh, Leo! Hotsy! I think I stan. Leo's voice ran immediately through her mind. Apparently, I'm partial to torture. Apparently, Tem was too. Gabriel plucked the letter from her fingers. Torture me? He asked. Tem sighed. Leo, she said simply. She wondered if the other girls had gotten a personalized addition to their letters. Somehow, she doubted it. The last 24 hours had been such a blur that Tem hadn't had a chance to think about what she'd overheard in the foyer at the end of her date with the prince. It all came back to her now. She remembered how Leo had argued with Maximus, how his father had chastised him for making the same mistakes of his past. Was Evelyn the mistake he was referring to? Tem knew nothing about her, but she knew Evelyn meant something to Leo. Could Evelyn be the cause of the rift between father and son? Tem remembered something else from their conversation, something that made her blood run cold with resentment. You're only doing this because you know it will anger me. Maybe that's part of the fun. If Leo was only pursuing Tem to make his father angry, then he had no respect for her as a person. That was unacceptable to Tem. She was not a strategy. She would not allow herself to be used to further the prince's agenda. It didn't matter that it gave her an advantage in the competition. It also reduced her to a prop in Leo's game. And Tem was far more than that. She was a catch, and she refused to be seen as anything but. All right, everything except for the last line, I think, was good. Like, character. Like, actual character development. Not necessarily, like, she's growing as a character, but, like, okay, we have developed who Tem is as an individual. And, I mean, if we're using the last line as part of it, then she's not a character that I like, but whatever. So, Gabriel was saying, Tem blinked. So what? How are you going to torture him? I'm sure I'll think of something. Tem, her mother scolded. You should be trying to impress him. Torturing him is how I impress him, Mother. You wouldn't understand. Her mother shook her head. Gabriel, on the other hand, smiled wider. You know, if he's into pain, you might consider... Out! Her mother cried. With one last rueful grin, Gabriel left. Tem performed her chores on autopilot, thinking about the invitation. She wasn't surprised there would be a group dinner tonight. There were 9 girls left, which meant that they were in the second stage of the elimination process. The events would become more intimate from this point forward to ensure each girl had as much time as possible with the prince. Tem wasn't sure how she felt about having more time with Leo. Thelonious, whatever, and somehow we call him fucking Leo. Attending an event at the... It pisses me off. It's pissed me off so bad. Attending an event at the castle meant she wouldn't be able to go to the caves tonight. The thought disappointed her. She wanted nothing more than to see Caspin. We will see each other tomorrow, Tem nearly jumped out of her skin as she remembered that their minds were connected now. She'd spent so long trying to destroy the barrier between them that she wasn't used to it being down. How long have you been there? Not long. Tem frowned. She didn't like that he'd listened to her thoughts about her consent, without her consent. I meant no harm, Tem. You are hard to ignore. Somehow she knew it was a compliment. Before she could reply, he spoke again. From now on, I will only come when you call. His presence faded. Tem wanted to call him back, but didn't. It was hard enough that she had to see Leo tonight. It would be harder still if Caspian was listening to every word. The package arrived at 7. It was larger than the one Leo had sent her last time, and when Tem opened it, she realized why. 3 dresses fell onto her bed. One was silver, which Tem immediately rejected. She didn't want anything clashing with the gold of her necklace. The next dress was a deep purple and so low cut that Tem actually blushed. Typical Leo. The last one, inexplicably, was modest. It was black and form-fitting, with a high neck and long sleeves. Tem arranged the dresses on the bed so she could see all 3 at once. Tem recognized that Leo was letting her choose for herself, but that he'd heard her when she told him she liked making her own choices. Could it be possible that he wasn't the pig he portrayed himself to be? A glance at the neckline of the purple dress refuted that possibility, yet his gesture wasn't lost on Tem. She considered the dresses, then she considered Leo's request. Torture me. It was one thing to show Leo everything he wanted. It was another thing entirely to show him nothing at all. Besides, who was she to deny the prince? Tem smiled and reached for the black dress. End of chapter. Oh, that was chapter 10. I thought that was chapter 11. Oh, no. We're only at 32 minutes. We're only at 32 minutes, but like... Oh, this is a long-ass chapter. I don't know if I can handle another chapter. I feel like finally there's movement. Maybe. I can't do another one. Alright, guys. This will be a shorter video. Mostly because I tired myself out. Alright. But hey, we're making progress. Slow, but steady progress. One day, many, many years in the future, we'll finish this. Alright, y'all. Thank you for hanging out for another episode. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below telling me what your thoughts are. Please be kind. I have very thin skin, alright, despite the fact that I put videos on the internet. We're about to pause. Alright, love you guys. Bye, 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 bye.